Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are in the world, GeeKay crew. Welcome back as the journey continues here with the Elemental Shaman. Levels 20 to 30 allow Lava Burst to finally reach its full potential, and we pick up one of the best talent rows in existence. Let's get started. So continuing on with Elemental, it is still a slow burn feeling. I know that in the last video it ended off with a good score of an 8 out of 10, but that didn't really happen until you reached level 20. So there's this very kind of good progression, I would say, to Elemental. Like, that's the plus side, right? If we look at Elemental for what it is so far, this slow burn feeling is like a roaring fire. It really is getting better and better and better with every time we get an upgrade. The class feels great, and that's what we're really looking for. This is so important because even though it's basic, it stays basic all the way until level 25. That's fine. If you're judging the class based off of those first 25 levels, I'm gonna tell you right now, you need to continue playing this because the spec is so good, and it just continues to improve. While there is no excitement yet to your rotation, again, you're still by level 15. If you have Echo of the Elements, you're just doing Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt, Bolt, Earth Shock. You know, that's what it is. That's what you're working with. Flame Shock thrown in there too, of course. And that's what is going to happen up until level 25. But once you reach level 25, this is finally it. This is a magnificent talent row, and you have three beautiful options of Aftershock, Echoing Shock, and Elemental Blast. And I know that I talked about switching Elemental Blast down a row and doing some shifty things here, but for what they are, these three talents are beautiful in Elemental. Right from the gate, I'm going to tell you that all of them are viable. They are all fun. And while Head recommends Aftershock, I still couldn't resist playing with Echoing Shock. And I'm almost certainly guaranteed to use Elemental Blast at some point as an Elemental Shaman versus when you're Enhancement, right? Being Elemental and having Elemental Blast does not feel bad at all. Like, Enhancement, it feels bad to have Elemental Blast sit on your hotbar without wanting to cast it until you get your Maelstrom. And it feels really good to cast Elemental Blast once you have that Maelstrom, but without it, you're really sitting there with a dead spell on your action bar. As Elemental, that is absolutely not the case here, and we will get to that. We will get to Elemental Blast. First, let's begin and get started with the first talent in the row, Aftershock. Aftershock is phenomenal. Here's what you're working with here. There is a 25% chance that when you cast Earthshock or Earthquake, which you get later on, that they will refund their Maelstrom costs. Ooh! All of that amazing resource that you just saved up comes back to you. And I'd like for you to imagine this. Imagine if you were to buy a cheeseburger, right? And there was a 1 in 4 chance that your cheeseburger is just free, right? Like, how good would you feel to have gotten a free cheeseburger? Like, look, honestly, if you don't like cheeseburgers, whatever you want, but imagine that you have another one for free, okay? Okay, this is Aftershock. There's a certain level of excitement knowing that your big, beefy, hard-hitting Earthshock could potentially become 2 big, beefy Earthshocks, and it truly decimates your opponent into tiny little bitty dust particles. That's not even what would happen if you critted twice. If you critted back-to-back with this, surely they would be wiped from existence at this point. But anyway, Aftershock is bringing an element of surprise to your rotation in a great way. The spender that you cast is coming, and it's happening again. This is great! If you're a person, you know, that is like one of the people at a party, you like to double dip. Kind of gross. We all know. But Aftershock is for you, double dippers, because you can go again. Aftershock can proc Aftershock. Yeah, sometimes it refunds itself again, and you can get a third or a fourth Earthshock out of it. The probability is exceptionally low that you can't rely on it to happen frequently, but you will absolutely see triple or quadruple Earthshocks at some point in your lifetimes. I had, while I was gathering footage for this, did get a quadruple Earthshock proc. Trust me, just trust me, I'm 100% trustworthy that actually did happen, but at the very least, I have footage here for you. It's a triple Earthshock. That's what Aftershock is bringing to the table. It's phenomenal. So the second talent in this row is Echoing Shock. This is an instant shock that deals damage to the enemy, and then copies your next damaging or healing spellcast. And this is what I appreciate about Echoing Shock right off of the bat, is that you also are gaining versatility with being able to cast a heal. And that's a really good thing to have with a talent. Adding versatility and increasing that skill ceiling makes it into a beautiful talent. At its best, it performs better than any other spell in the row. At its worst, this is where it is kind of shaky. Pay attention here. There really are only two spells that you should be casting after Echoing Shock. That is your Earth Shock or your Lava Burst. The damage for Lightning Bolt echoes, I'm not sure why we would be bothering. You might be able to get Echoing Shock casted off onto your Ice Fury, which is a talent that you receive later on. Regardless of what you're doing here, your best two damaging abilities are going to be Earth Shock and Lava Burst. Now, as for which of those you should cast, look, I did the math. I can tell you, if you're going to crit, Earth Shocks do more damage. If you are not going to crit, Lava Bursts do more damage, because two critical Lava Bursts, they always crit. Now, past level 20, any target with Flame Shock, they're always critting. Lava Bursts do more damage than just back-to-back Earth Shocks. And so that is where this talent is, like, performing best, is on those spells. You also can use it with Earthquake later on. That is something to consider if you're trying to burst an AoE group. You can also use it with Chain Lightning. That's totally acceptable as well. And so that's what's great about Echoing Shock. There's a very large variety of spells that you can combine this with. And I had a lot of fun with it. I personally thought it was more enjoyable to watch Lava Burst because it can proc your Mastery and cast itself 4 times. It is so fun to see this. Then, if your RNG gods truly align and your Lava Surge passive procs, you then are adding a third Lava Burst on top of that, which again can feed your Mastery, which gives you, if you've been keeping count, 6 Lava Bursts in no seconds flat. So that is what I truly love about Echoing Shock. That is what is glorious to see. It's very versatile. You're going to slot it into your rotation just before you're casting your any other spell. It fits easily. On a 30-second cooldown, you have a very beautiful tempo to the rotation using this talent. If you're a player who doesn't enjoy the randomness of an Aftershock proc and you like having consistent damage numbers, Echoing Shock is great. That is a perfect talent. Slides in, gives you a good tempo to beat on your opponents with. Echoing Shock, I love ya. Honestly, the only negative thing I'm going to say about Echoing Shock is that the art for it is... just look at it. It's not the best. It just, like, it gets the job done. I can think that as a newer talent, they probably didn't have as much time to truly develop what this should look like. I personally would like to have a kind of sound reverberation effect. Like if the target gets hit by it, you can see, like, in, you ever see animes, right? They always have that whoosh, punch, whoom, coming through the back end of it because they punch so hard in the air around them. That's what I want to see in Echoing Shock. That's a pipe dream. Otherwise, I don't have complaints about the artwork. It's still good, and it gets the job done. Good job, art team. For our last talent of the row, we have our old friend from Enhancement, the Elemental Blast. It is back, and it's even better than it was before. After a 2-second cast, harness the raw power of the elements to deal elemental damage, and increase your critical strike, or your haste, or your mastery for 10 seconds. This is a 12-second cooldown. The effect does work with your mastery, and can cast twice. So, being a caster type class as elemental, the elemental blast already feels like you're adding any other spell to your hotbar without it disrupting the playstyle. This generates Maelstrom at an increased rate than your other spells, so you're going to want to hit this on cooldown, and as seen before, this spell looks awesome. Like, why would you not want to cast this as much as possible? Just look at it! You're having a spell casting 3 elements at once. It's awesome. This really speaks to me, and it really says, I'm an elemental shaman spell. This is the elements, let's cast them and get them out there. It's phenomenal. To really help make sure that they did Elemental Blast right for the Elemental Shaman, Blizzard made sure that it does more damage than your Lava Burst to really push the envelope of this spell. Again, it generates more Maelstrom. You're going to notice a difference. That extra Maelstrom is going to be more Earthshocks casted for you. It's going to be more Earthquakes casted, and it feels really good to have that. Honestly, you're not going to be going wrong with Elemental Blast. I would say that this is, again, something for the tempo players. If you like having this kind of switching back and forth style of play, rotating your spells in a much more organized manner. I'm going to go with organized because Lava Surge still does proc sometimes. So with that, this is phenomenal in that way. Bouncing between Elemental Blast and your other spells, keeping it on cooldown. Elemental Blast for... how many times can we say elemental? Elemental. With that said, honestly, Elemental Shamans, you're not going to go wrong with EB. Fantastic. It's a great spell. It's a great spell. Great talent, Blizzard. Honestly, it's almost a 10 out of 10 here. Finally, as we finish off this leveling bracket, at level 27 and 29, Elemental picks up 2 additional passives that bring it up another notch in power level and burst potential. The Elemental Fury passive at level 27 bumps your critical strike damage and healing up to 250% instead of the normal 200%. So not a real rotation altering passive at all. It's very clearly just adding damage. But then at level 29, you get Lava Surge. Lava Surge is what makes the heart of every elemental shaman sing. Your Flame Shock's damage over time has a 15% chance to reset the remaining cooldown of your Lava Burst, and makes your next Lava Burst an instant cast. It's been a long-standing trait for Elemental Shamans for a long time, and seeing it proc on my hotbar always brought so much excitement to me. Lava Burst always crits whenever the target has Flame Shock on them. This gives me the big number feeling. It can proc off of the mastery, and it gives you that great Spellcaster Dominator feeling. It also is adding a nice fast pace to the spec, and it's bringing a level of excitement to being aware of what's happening on your hotbar at any given time. And that's what I like about this. It's something that you're going to look out for. The other best part about this is that there are situations where this is going to feel phenomenal. You're on the run from an enemy and you don't have time to stand still or cast spells. Lava Surge proc has you covered. Boom, instant cast Lava Burst. If you've felt dissatisfied by casting one Lava Burst, Lava Surge kicks in. It says, boom, don't worry, I got your back. Here's a second one. Enjoy that free Lava Burst. It's honestly these types of passives that make spells into absolutely addictive goodness. This is the equivalent of Stormbringer for the Enhancement Shaman, but without the extra proccing that Stormbringer does, because this is tied to your Flame Shock dot, which deals damage every 3 seconds. So instead of having the Lava Burst, you're instead getting a much better kind of knowing when this is going to happen, and it does let you plan accordingly. I love Lava Surge, and it finally is that much needed love that Lava Burst needs to bring it to that even better 5 out of 5 gameplay. So levels 20 to 30 are giving Elemental some serious upgrades to add to the fun. It adds to the pacing, and it feels so much better. Don't dismiss this spec off of the first 20 levels. Continue to play it because it gets so much better here. Aftershock is bringing you some gameplay fun with a great 4 out of 5 scoring. Honestly, I can't say that this is even a bad talent at all. It's just not a perfect 5 out of 5 for me because it doesn't really change up the rotation. It's enhancing it. It's enhancing what you're already doing and adding to that, which makes it great, but there is room for improvement there. Echoing Shock, however, has my full 5 out of 5 support. The talent is amazing. At its worst, you're accidentally casting, an extra lightning bolt, but it's still great to see an extra lightning bolt coming out of you even. So at its worst, you're just doing slightly less damage, but at its best, you're getting sextuple lava bursts when the gods for RNG align. This is great. It changes your rotation to slot it in. It fixes some problems you might have if you're not seeing procs frequently enough. There's just so much goodness coming into Echoing Shock. Beautiful. And then Elemental Blast, I gotta give it a full 5 here as well. It's also adding to your rotation in such a great way. It's helping to improve the rotation's feel by increasing the amount of Earth Shocks that you're doing. It is a damage dealing spell that is going to get hit. It's going to get used. You're going to want to cast it. It's not dead on your hotbar. It plays nicely with your other talents, and your mastery also procs it. Elemental Blast is as good as it gets here in the hands of an Elementalist, and you're talking about amazing spell depth here. It's not super complex, don't get me wrong. It's not overly complex. I love it. It's just in such a perfect form right now. Trust me when I hope that you also really enjoy Elemental Blast. So, with all that said, that's it. With a near perfect level 25 talent row, Lava Surge in the spell books, Elemental is getting that big boost in gameplay, and we're finally taking off. We'll see you again in part 3. Have a great rest of your days.